There's a particular kind of corporate confidence that arrives when the culture filters out difficult questions. It's often called alignment, but it's really just a warning sign saying, this way, please. I'm the boardroom coach, and this is today's leadership thinking hidden in the headlines. And I'm drawing on the current governance debate in the US about shareholder proposals and how it's raising familiar questions. How much challenge should reach the formal agenda? How much should be filtered out in the name of focus, efficiency, and control? Now, on the surface, this sounds diligent, but look at those questions again. It's filtering. Shareholder rights, board authority, AGM process, proxy advisors, and regulatory shifts. All the language that makes a governance debate feel as if it's been designed to test whether anyone is still awake after page 87 of the back. And leaders, take heed. Notice the operating pattern. Step back, look at the symptoms, and recognize the bigger picture, the wider lens. Challenge rarely disappears. Yeah, you might filter it from the pack, from the boardroom, but there generally isn't a villain sat at the end of the table saying, silence the awkward person. It all happens much more politely. See if you recognize some of this. A concern is moved to the next meeting. A risk is placed in the appendix. A customer pattern is described as anecdotal. The finance warning is called conservative, and the operational objection is treated as detail. Then the cautious colleague is thanked professionally, only to be ignored with great enthusiasm going forward. Sure, the meeting ends on time with papers that look disciplined. Everyone has behaved as expected. Then we move to execution, and things begin to wobble. This is usually where the symptoms begin to appear. I'm going to run through these in a little detail, such as the importance of them, being able to recognize them, being able to course correct, which I'll come to. I'm covering 5 symptoms and 5 solutions today, but there are many more. Let's start with the first. The first symptom is a decision that's easy to approve and hard to implement. The senior conversation feels settled, but reality keeps pushing back. Teams begin to reinterpret the decision. Delivery timelines stretch. The same issue returns under a different heading, and people don't openly resist, but the initiative or organisation becomes strangely slow. The second symptom is late surprise, and it's exactly what you might expect. The problem arrives at senior level only when it's become expensive, reputational or politically awkward. Afterwards, people can remember that there were early signals. Someone did raise a concern. A customer theme was visible. A supplier did hesitate. And a middle leader had doubts. The issue was known, but it never had enough authority to alter the decision. You see, the thing is, organizations need challenge, but challenge needs authority. If you witness public agreement followed by private concern, then this is the third symptom. People support the decision in the meeting, then explain in smaller conversations why it will not work as planned. The behaviour is easy to judge. It's usually more useful to ask the formal environment feels less safe for uncertainty than the corridor and the water cooler afterwards. Why can't we raise this in the meeting? Why do we have to have conversations in the shadows? This is the outcome of behaviours that are being allowed to shape the organisation's culture. And if you're interested, then I've covered this in multiple forms and posts previously. Follow and subscribe to look back for these articles. Okay, so where are we? Yeah. Number 4. Number 4 is more of a question. Is challenge becoming dependent on personality? It looks like this. This one's actually my personal favourite, not because I like it, but because it's so obvious and a dead giveaway. There are one or two people who can say the difficult thing. Everyone else waits to see whether they will. That may look manageable, but it's fragile. A healthy system should not rely on the courage, mood, seniority of a few individuals to keep reality in the room. An alternative version of this is that those two people are the only ones talking, and everyone else is the audience to the theatre of their performance. Before we unleash number 5, I'm going to bet there's been a few nodding heads and exclamations of, "Seen that?" so far. That's because this is so much more common than we care to acknowledge. Just think of the positive impacts for your organisation if these symptoms could be reduced. Eliminated, even. Okay, the 5th and last symptom I'm covering today. There are more, as I've said, but we're sticking to 5. The 5th one is the presence of visible emotional responses. Leaders start to feel irritated by challenge. The careful voice feels negative. The repeated concern feels obstructive. The awkward question feels badly timed. And the person asking for evidence starts to feel like the person slowing progress. As a boardroom coach, an advisor and facilitator, I actually invite challenge. I lean into challenge. It's there to be explored because it's in that space that qualification lies. Risk can be identified or opportunity to pivot. Because without doing so, avoiding challenge, suppressing it, filtering it out through behaviour, that becomes the point where governance narrows judgment. And can you spot the irony? Governance narrows judgment. Isn't judgment exactly what governance is charged with protecting? And if you're in any doubt over the harsh and severe realities of allowing this to play out, let's look at a real historical example. Do you remember Space Shuttle Challenger disaster? It's often remembered as a technical failure, but the deeper leadership lesson, what we're talking about today, sits in the decision process, in the governance. The Rogers Commission found that the decision-making process leading to the launch was seriously flawed. They found that concerns about the solid rocket booster and the joint seal were not properly carried through the system, and that management reversed its earlier position and recommended launch contrary to the views of its engineers within NASA. That detail matters. The warning was present. The technical concern was known. The people closest to the risk had spoken. But the challenge did not retain enough authority to stop that decision to launch. Now, most organisations aren't launching spacecraft, okay, although some transformation programs do appear to be working from the assumption that gravity can be overcome with a revised operating model and a confident town hall. Regardless, the pattern is still familiar, and it plays out across many organisations. The expert concern becomes too technical, the operational warning becomes too local, and the finance caution becomes too conservative. The meeting moves on. So what can be done about this? What can you do as a leader? Well, the answer isn't to ask for more challenge in a general way. That usually creates theatre, and theatre, well, we know what comes there. People say the right things, the same voices speak, and the same issues are softened. Everyone leaves feeling that challenge has been invited, even if nothing has been allowed to change. The first senior move is to give challenge a commercial purpose. Make it clear which forms of friction protect value, customer impact, operational capacity, regulatory exposure, margin risk, delivery of confidence, reputation, assumption quality. That keeps challenge tied to the work rather than to personality. It becomes baked into governance. The second move is to ask one question before approving a material decision. What evidence would make us change course? If the team can't answer, the decision may already be more defended than it has been examined. The third is to protect the right to slow a decision down. Not every concern deserves a veto. Not every hesitation should delay progress. But commercially, useful friction needs a route into the conversation before the cost rises. A strong team should know who can pause the process, on what grounds, and with what evidence. Number 4. The fourth move is to record unresolved assumptions, not just agreed actions or a red, amber, green status. Minutes often make decisions look cleaner than they really are. A more honest approach is to say, we are proceeding, and these are the assumptions we are choosing to carry, and this is how we will monitor and assess them as we go. That single shift improves ownership. It also makes it harder for uncertainty to disappear into false neatness. And finally, the fifth, close the loop. When someone raises a difficult signal, show what happened to it. Was it tested? Was it rejected? Was it built into the decision? Was it escalated? Silence teaches people not to bother. Visible consideration teaches people that challenge has a direction, an outcome, and a consequence. The additional implication here is personal. Senior responsibility changes how challenge feels. When pressure is high, a leader may begin to experience challenge as weight rather than protection. That doesn't make them arrogant, it just makes them human. But it's still risky to ignore that challenge. Governance isn't a box-ticking exercise to say that we had challenge represented in the room, only to silence it and use the absence of challenge as a line of defence when cost implications cripple the initiative. The boardroom coach, that's me, follows and shares these patterns because they show how judgment behaves under pressure. Follow and subscribe for more analysis on leadership thinking, or reach out if there's something you'd like to discuss. I'll leave you with this. The strongest test isn't whether people are allowed to speak, it's whether challenge still has enough authority to change the decision before the organisation becomes committed to proving it right. It's the difference between being right and doing right.